here with Half Dozen Customs. Back out here on the Jeep today. I think we last left off the other day with painting the steering column, which I unmasked everything. So put the seat back in there, put the primer parts back in there. Over the weekend, we got a little sandblasting booth put up. Now the top is still open. I'm hoping that not too much comes over that top. But we got that built over the weekend. There's a video of it. I don't know if that's a separate video or if it'll be in with one of the Jeep videos. But we got the hood in here. I got all my sandblasting stuff ready. I got this little curtain, kind of closes off our opening so no sand gets out, or at least not as much. What I'm gonna try and do today, and hopefully it works. It's a little chilly outside. We've had the heat going in here. I got it about 70 in here. And I'm gonna try and just crack the door open some, and hopefully it'll suck out. It's a little chilly, so the heat will escape, pulling it out, and we have a nice cross breeze. I believe it was Sunday I was saying that it was super windy out, and the wind was just blowing right at the front of the shop. So anything we would have done Sunday, it would have just been blowing in. Now we have a nice cross breeze, so I'm hoping if I just crack the door open, it'll just suck it right out. So if not, I'll bring the fans over here and we'll put the fans in. But we got the hood in here. I think we're ready to go. I am not going to be bringing the camera in here and filming this. I don't want to trash my camera. So this is it for now. Take a last look at this hood. Hopefully the next time you see it, at least the outside should be cleaned. And we'll go from there. I do want to get the inside all sandblasted up as well. But just us cleaning what we were cleaning before when we were working on this hood, I don't know, a month or two ago, we were just with sanding and whatever we were doing, trying to get the paint off of this thing. I was having some areas that were getting like rust pinholes in them. So, like you can see some down there. So I'm thinking maybe once we get the outside all cleaned, we'll go ahead and we should know everything that's going to blow through at that point in time, and we can go ahead and get that patched. Reason I'm thinking of doing it that way is so that the inside is still kind of protected while we do some work on the outside. And then once we get all our patch work done on the outside, then we'll go back in, we'll prime the inside, we'll grind up any patches that we need to grind up. There's a bunch of dings and dents that we got to hammer out, and then we can get the inside body worked out and get it primed inside of the hood. I don't know what I just said, but get the inside body worked out and primed so that won't rust, and then we can continue on with the outside. I told you guys before, my goal right now is work on one part until it's done and primed, and then we'll bring the next part in, we'll work on that till it's done and primed, and so on and so forth. So most of everything's been sandblasted, but the doors and everything that's been kind of sandblasted already, we need to go back and re-clean it up because it's hot spotted over the past couple of months. So they're done, they're sandblasted, but we're going to go through and we're going to clean them up again. So, but that's the easy part because they've already been done once. So I'll see you guys back here in a little bit when we have some stuff done. Put a light in here. So, but I'll see you guys back here in a bit. Bye. Alright, just a little quick update. We've been out here sandblasting on this hood for, I don't know, between 2 and 2.5 hours. I have been taking a break here and there and putting the fans in the door and letting it air out in here. I got my mask on, so it's okay. We're keeping the sand contained in there. You know, you can see here I don't know if you guys can see it, but I mean, there's a little bit of sand that's escaping, but not bad at all. It seems like it's just the big chunks that must be bouncing off the hood and bouncing up over. But it is getting dusty in here. Even with the door open a little bit, it's getting dusty in here. So what I've been doing is I've been taking a break here and there and sticking the fans in the door and letting it air out, and then keep going. So it's lunchtime, so I'm gonna take a break and we're gonna go eat some lunch. But we have gotten, you know, I would say 3/4 of it sandblasted. It's looking good. I'm super happy with it. We got that little corner over there left to do, and then we got this upper corner over here left to do. I've gone through probably 1.5 bags of sand, you know, which isn't bad. I got 3 more bags over here that are unopened still. Not that we'll need them for this hood, but I figure I should be able to, with what I got left. I think I got like 1/4 bag left in there, and probably 1/2 of my sandblasting bucket is full. So we should be able to finish up the outside of the hood with what's there. And then we recently picked up these 3 various sizes. One's a little bigger, one's medium, one's small. And they go over the top of a 5-gallon bucket. So my plan is that once we get this outside done, I'm gonna go in there and we're gonna shovel up all the sand and we're gonna dump it through these sifters into the bucket, and I'm gonna reuse it. So only downfall I would say with everything that we're doing, well, okay, 2 downfalls. My feet are freezing in there because we got the door open a little bit and the wind is blowing in. So my feet are cold in there, which, you know, isn't that big of a deal, but leaves keep blowing in from outside. So there's a bunch of leaves in the sand. So, you know, it's a good thing that we got those sifters so that we can sift all that out of there. But other than that, I think it's going good. After lunch, we'll come back out here. We'll get the rest of that hood, outside of that hood, sandblasted up. And then I think then, you know, we can do the patches that we need to do. And it just looks like it's pretty much like above the hood hinges on both sides. We're probably gonna have to replace like this much metal, probably 1 foot, you know, 6 inches on either side of the hinge on that hood is rotting out. I don't know if that just has to do with the hinges being there or what, but it's the same spot both sides. So we'll get that cut out. After we get this all sandblasted, we'll work on getting that cut out. I'm thinking that we should be able to get that started tonight. Hopefully get that wrapped up tomorrow, and then we can continue on with sandblasting the inside tomorrow, hopefully. You know, worst case, today's Tuesday, so You know, worst case Thursday, you know, we'll be sandblasting the inside of the hood. Now the inside of the hood, a lot of that hood had already been stripped. We stripped, you know, the outside edges of the hood where all the strength was, and you know, we didn't get rid of any of the rust on the outside. So on the outside edges, I have been going through and having to still sandblast them so that we can get rid of all the rust, but we had stripped all the paint off already. On the inside, it's full on paint and everything in there, so you know, it's probably going to take a little bit more sand and a little bit more time to get that inside all sandblasted and cleaned up. And the rust that's on the inside, I think is a little more aggressive, because that's where like the rails are and everything kind of sat and built up around those rails. So it's a little more aggressive in there. So I think that the inside's going to take, you know, a little bit more time. You know, like I said, I got, you know, roughly between 2 and 2.5 hours on it right now. We'll probably have another hour and a half finishing up the outside. So, you know, 4 or 5 hours, you know, on the outside, and a lot of that was stripped. So I'm expecting the inside to, you know, it'll definitely take that, if not a little more. So, but anyways, that's my update. Enough chit chatting. Going in for some lunch. I'll see you guys back out here later. All right. Well, we're back after our hood sandblasting adventure. We still got to do the inside, but as you can see behind me, the hood is here, and it's all sandblasted on the outside. It came out good. It looks good. So this is what I was talking about by being up by the hinges. You know, we got some pinholes. It's on both sides. Like I said, right by the hinges. So, you know, don't know, you know, what caused that. Maybe, you know, sitting outside and having, you know, leaves pack up on the top, up around that hinge area. You know, that would make sense to me. This hood that, you know, we're using here was not originally off of this truck. It was off of the red Suburban that's sitting outside. And, you know, you could tell just by looking at that red Suburban that it was not garage kept. It was sitting outside for a long time. So, so that would probably be my guess, is just, you know, leaves, maybe pine needles, you know, just dirt and muck that got packed up around those hinges while it was sitting outside, and it just, you know, rotted out that edge. So my plan is, there's a few of these on the hood that I think I'm gonna attempt to drill them out and then weld them up. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just cut it all out and we'll patch it. Now, over on the other side, you know, there's an area that's like this big that has like probably 15 holes in one spot. We'll just cut that out and replace it. But some of these other ones where there's just 1 or 2 holes here and there, we're gonna try and drill them out and then weld them up. So, I think before we get to that, I'm probably gonna take some 80 grit on my little grinder, and we're gonna run over the outside of the hood with that, and we're gonna DA it up and get it all nice and clean and shiny. And then we'll go on to doing the patches. For one, we need to clean up around the patches anyways. I don't know if it's just me or if it's just a common problem with everybody, but Anytime I try and weld where I've sandblasted, it doesn't want to weld nice. So I'd like to, you know, clean up the metal around those areas first, and might as well just run over it all and make it a nice clean hood. And like I said, we'll get started on welding up some of these holes tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to finish that up tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow night we'll be sandblasting the inside, or the next day. So, you know, I want to, you know, we're getting to that point where it's sandblasting bodywork prime, and I don't want to have to keep cleaning these parts. So we're gonna, you know, try and blow through them real quick. I think once we get all this patched up on this hood, I'm gonna clean up a couple spots on the truck, and we're gonna get some pictures. If it's nice outside, we'll pull it outside, at least right here by the shop, and we'll get some pictures outside. Worst case scenario, I'll just get some pictures in here. But I'd like to get some pictures of it in bare metal with the hood on. So probably before we do all the sandblasting on the inside, we'll do some pictures. But yeah, let me get the grinder set up and the sander set up and whatnot, and we'll be right back. All right, let's get to cleaning this hood up. I got some 80 grit on this. We're not trying to kill it. We're just kind of knocking down the sandblasting with it, and then we'll come back with some 80 grit on a DA and clean it up with that too. So. Okay, so you can see they cleaned up really nice. That's just our first round of sanding. We gotta go through and, you know, like I said, we gotta make some repairs here. There's some dents that need to be hammered and dollied out. And you know, we'll end up DAing this down again and cleaning it a little more. But what a difference a day makes on this hood. This hood looked like garbage this morning, and now it looks like a nice clean piece to be able to work with. So I'm gonna get the other side cleaned up, and we'll be back. We'll be back to probably drill a couple of holes and start welding some stuff up and see how this goes. So not gonna make you guys watch me do the other side. I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I did over here. So we'll be back. Alright, well, we got it all cleaned up. I'm gonna drill out a couple of these holes, see how it feels, see how it looks. Alright, well, we got this hood all sanded down and cleaned up. And I'm gonna drill out some of these rust holes and see how it, feels. We can then take a look at it and make sure that the metal is, thick enough to, apply a weld to. Like I said, some of this is going to get cut out, but some of these random holes we're just going to try and drill and weld. So let's see how they look drilling them out. Okay, so I drilled out two holes here. I drilled them out so we got to some thick metal. I drilled out these 3 holes here, and I drilled out 1 hole here. This section right here, I think, is what we're gonna cut out and replace. And the reason being, there's multiple holes that are really close together, but that's also, it's getting into the brace. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but you can still see that it's rusty in there, and that's the brace underneath. So I would like to cut out above that brace and be able to clean out behind that brace. So, just drilling holes, we won't be able to clean that out. It'll still just be rusty in there, which I can guarantee you it goes all the way across the brace. So, is it really that big of a deal that we clean out the one spot? I don't know, because it goes all the way across. It's probably not really gonna make that big of a difference. But if I drill that out and I put a weld there, anybody who works on cars knows that, if you weld and you can't protect the back of that weld, the rust is always going to come back through there. It's going to come back right through where you welded, because you can't protect the backside. And being that, there's that brace there, we drill a hole, we weld it, all that rust is still right around that weld, and the chances of it coming back are greater and faster than if we cut it out and clean it. So I'd rather cut it out and clean it. But the few holes that I drilled there, they're in between the brace and the pinch. So there's nothing behind there that could come back. So that's why I did it the way that I did it. But let's see if we can weld up these couple of holes. And, do it nicely, not make things worse. For one, I don't want to warp it, and then for 2, I don't want to, make a BB size hole into a marble size hole trying to weld it. So those came out okay. There's some little imperfections in them. But what we'll do, before I try and take care of any of those imperfections, what we'll do is we'll get that patch cut out, we'll get that patch cleaned up. We need to flip the hood over after that, and we need to clean up the welds from the backside. A lot of times when you grind the weld flat on one side and then go to grind it flat on the other side, you know, you end up having to go back and weld again because, you know, you got imperfection on one side and then you grind it flat on the other side and you end up breaking through that imperfection. Like this little imperfection right here, when I go to grind that on the back side, that's going to turn into a hole. So I would rather get everything cleaned up, both sides, then go back, fix it again, go back, clean it up on both sides, and we should be okay at that point in time. So, so like I said, we'll go through, we'll drill out what we can, we'll cut out what we have to, and we'll go from there. So, but I think I'm gonna call it a night. We're coming up on 10 o'clock. I've said in multiple videos, I try and be respectful of the neighbors and try not to work past 10 o'clock. So, I'm gonna call it a night here. It's been a long day. You know, we probably had, you know, 3 to 4 hours sandblasting. Now we've had you know, a couple hours and grinding, sanding, cleaning. We did some test welding. I'm happy with whatever's going on right now. So we'll continue this tomorrow. We should be able to get everything welded up, hopefully in our morning session, and then after lunch we should be able to throw it back in our little sandblasting booth and start sandblasting the inside. We left off last night with seeing if we could weld up a couple of these rust holes that were on here, and we were successful at that. But there is an area here that I think is larger than we can just weld up, so we're gonna have to cut it out and weld it up. So that's what I'm gonna start with right now. I showed it in the last video, but I'll show it again. So this is the area right here we're gonna cut out. We're just gonna cut this out and put a new piece in there. So let's do that. Then we're gonna have to flip it over after we weld this spot in. We got a couple holes on that side that we got to drill out and weld up, and then once we get that done, we got to flip it over. We got to grind up and clean up the back side, and then go through and just finalize the welding. I'm sure there's some spots that are gonna come through, break through, whatever. I showed you in last night's video that there were some imperfections in some of the welds that we did last night. When we go to grind it from the back side, we're gonna break through to those imperfections and we'll have to weld those back up. So, but let's start with getting this cut out and cleaned up. We'll probably have to do some sandblasting underneath, and then we'll get a new piece put in and be well on our way. I did go a little bit bigger, and I eliminated one of the welds that we did last night. I mean, we were going to be cutting right next to it. Might as well just scoot over a 1/4 of an inch and cut that weld out. So you can see we cut out one of those welds, and that's what we got clean up on the back side, and it's not bad. You can see that, you know, it's a decent looking weld. So not much to clean up on the back side, but we do got some stuff. Got my little spot blaster here. We'll just clean up what's underneath there. So I'll spread a little 2-in-1 in there to get some protection. So I'm gonna mark out this piece that we cut. Let me clean this guy up a little bit so that we can get a nice clean line. So, you know, if you look, you can see it's not a clean line around where we just cut this out. So I use this, I clean it up a little bit, and then when we trace it out, we'll have a nice clean line. Trace it out, take it over there, we'll cut it out. Okay, well, while that dries, let's drill out some of those holes over there. We got all those holes welded up. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna give this stuff just a few more minutes to dry, and then we'll weld that patch in, and we'll get that ground down, clean up, and then we'll flip it over. And then it's back into our sandblasting booth. See you guys soon. Okay. We got all our rust holes cleaned up. So now let's flip it over and let's clean up the underside. And like I said, I expect to break through in some areas where there's some voids and whatnot. We'll have to go back and touch those up. So okay, well, we got those ground down. Not too bad. I only had one spot over here that we actually broke through, and that was that spot where I showed you guys the imperfection in the weld. So we did better than I thought. But we'll see where we end up after sandblasting. You can see that whole area is pretty rough. So I expect to have some more to fix after we sandblast the inside. And I think what we're gonna do, since that's such a hard little area to get into and make proper repairs, you know, we'll have to see after we get some primer in there. I'm not gonna go in there and body work all that area. I could, but I think we'll prime it. We'll put a couple extra thick coats back there. We'll sand it down. We'll see how it turns out. But I think before we actually spray some base coat in there, we'll smear a finger smear of seam sealer all the way in that area back there. It'll take care of any of the pitting or, you know, inconsistencies in where we welded. But now we gotta get it in there and start sandblasting the inside. Yeah, so I gotta go get the sifter set up and get a shovel and start shoveling up that sand and sift out that sand, and clean up that little area before we do this backside. So I'll see you guys back here later for a little check-in. When I get it all set up in there, I'll show you guys it in there, and then, you know, we'll do some check-ins in between or whatnot, or see you when it's done. But we'll be back. Alright, well, we're back out here after lunch. I've cleaned up all the sand and got it set up to start sandblasting. Now, unfortunately, if you guys can hear that, it is pouring rain out right now. So I can't open the door. I mean, I can open the door, but then all our sand that we're trying to reuse is going to get wet. So we're just going to have to suffer and keep the door closed. I think I'm going to close the curtains on the other side of the shop, try and keep the dust over here on this side. So, like I said, unfortunately, can't do nothing about the rain. But we're going to get to sandblast in here, and I'll check back in and show you guys what we get accomplished tonight. So, see you guys in a bit. Alright, well, I'm gonna call it a night here. We got a lot sandblasted, probably about 3/4 of the hood. I'll go walk over there and show you what we got done. So it looks good. I'm happy with it. You can see I got the hood out here on the stand. We got it all sandblasted up. I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. So now we're gonna work on, so you can see that line there, that's a dent. That's a dent. You know, we got dents there. So I'm gonna start working on those and try and get them knocked out the best that we can. Remember, whatever you see on this side, you're gonna see on this side, and vice versa. Like, it is one piece of metal, and we need to get it flat on both sides. We are gonna have to body work it for sure, but you know, hopefully we can get everything knocked out decently. So I'm gonna get a hammer and a dolly, and we're gonna start tapping. Okay, just that little bit of work. And it's looking much better. Now I'm gonna grab a different dolly, and we're gonna go the other way now. Alright, so I magic markered the inside, and now I'm going to use a file, and we'll file down, and any high spots will get clean, and we'll be able to go and work those high spots individually. It feels really good. There might not be anything, but just double checking. So it feels really good, but when I'm running my hand both on the inside and the outside, where those dents are, there was very heavy rust pitting, because whatever dents those were, you know, knocked the paint off and it rusted. So very heavy pitting. So I can't tell if I'm feeling the pitting or if I'm feeling still a little dent. So okay, so you can see those are our high spots. So now I'll work those a little bit, and then we'll hit with the file again and see if the areas that are still black from the magic marker, we'll see if those start to go away. I'm gonna switch up my hammer a little bit here. This hammer has a curve to it, and you know we're hammering on a curved area, so I don't think I can get it any closer. I don't want to keep banging on it and you know go the wrong way. You know, create a tin can or anything like that. I think it feels really good. So now we got the two creases on the other side. Creases are a little more difficult than just a ding, which is what was over here. There was multiple dings in one area, you know, which is a lot harder to do than just one ding, but you know, when you have a ding, you have a stretch mark that's in a circle, where when you have it in a line, you know, the stretch mark is out like so. So it's a little more difficult to get the lines out. I feel it's a little harder to get the lines out, but we'll work on it and we will get them out. I got everything all sanded down, wire wheeled out. It looks good. You can see this is the area that I was telling you that needs to be, you know, we need to body work this area out. Looks like we could maybe hammer that guy from the other side a little bit. And this is what I'm talking about, that we're gonna, we're gonna run some tape and we're gonna coat this. So I think I'm gonna do that right now. We are going to, I think I'll hammer this spot out real quick. And then we'll put some tape down and we'll start some body work. Okay, well, you can see we got that coated. We got this coated. It's where those creases were. There was a big crease and a big crease. That was a bunch of dents. And then, so you can see I smeared this all the way along. Now, we'll come back, we'll sand that out, and then we're gonna tape off from the other side and we'll coat this guy and just get rid of all the pits, and then we'll seam seal in between. So, and when I seam seal it, I'll pull it real tight with my finger, so that way you still have, you still have the ledge and the ledge. We're just going to smooth out the inside with the seam sealer, so that you don't see all the rust pitting that's in there. For me to try and body work in a gap that's this big, I'm not doing that. We left off last night with putting a coat of some lightweight filler in a couple of spots, and now we're going to sand it down. So here we go. Okay, we got that side sanded. I think I'm much happier with that side than I am with this other side. I think this other side, when I go to put the next coat on, wherever we need to apply our next coat, I'm gonna coat this side again. Try and pull it a little tighter. I mean, it's super close, like I said. If we primed it, we might be okay, but I do feel a little something in there, so. So I cut down a little paint stick, same width as this. So, all we have is this back edge back here, which I'm just going to take a piece by hand and just go in there and just sand it all up by hand. It's a small section we're sanding, but it's the whole length of the hood. So it's going to take me a little while to do. I'm not going to make you guys watch that. We'll be back to recoat. So once we get this sanded down back here, we need to run another piece of tape and do the other side of this hood lip here. So we'll recoat that. We welded up a hole on each side of the hood here from the emblems. So there's a weld over here and a weld over there that need to be just skim coated. And then, like I said, I'm gonna recoat this. The more I feel it, like it just, I feel something funky in there. So I think the top feels good. It's just this bottom section. This bottom section here where you see all this metal poking through here. I feel it. It's very choppy feeling. I mean, it's smooth, but it just feels choppy. So we'll probably recoat this. Yeah, and then I think once we get that coated, I don't know what time it is. Oh, it's still early. We had the time change recently, so it gets dark at like 5 o'clock now. Yeah, so we'll be back to recoat those couple of spots, and then we'll come back, we'll sand it down, and we'll see where we're at that point. I would like to get this primed tonight. We might be able to. So I was thinking earlier today, we had a bunch of errands to run this morning, so by the time we were done with that, it was lunchtime, and so I didn't get out here this morning to work on it. So I was thinking that we probably wouldn't get it primed until tomorrow, but we might be able to get it primed tonight. So let's keep working. I'll see you guys back here in a bit. Okay, got some Bondo out. We're gonna mix it up and spread it on these last couple of spots here. We will we'll let this dry up for a little while. It's 60 degrees in here, so maybe half hour or so we'll come back and sand it, and hopefully when we sand it this time we're good, and then we can prime it up. So I'll see you guys back here shortly. Fingers crossed, we'll be setting up for primer. Alright, well, we got it all sanded up, cleaned up, ready for some primer. I think we're pretty good. I put everything in 180. I got some primer in the gun, so let's get to it. we got it all primed. Some of it looks really good, some of it not so much. For one, I do see a couple of dings that we missed. There's one here, and there's probably 4 or 5 right up here at the front. So, you know, we may end up having to go back and take care of those. And then the other thing is that the pitting from the rust was a lot worse than it actually looked. So I put a lot of primer on it. It's got 4 good heavy coats on it, and then some of the areas like this center section where it was really pitted has 6 coats. This front section where it was really pitted has 6 coats, and same thing with the back. So the sides where we did our work on the sides looks absolutely perfect. So I don't see no wobbles or waves or dings or dents. There's no rust pitting. It looks really good. So these rails that go across, those came out really nice. They look really good too. So I guess my main concern is just this front edge, this back edge, and this center section. Like I said, I got a lot of primer on there, so you know, we'll give it some time to set up and dry and shrink. You know, we'll get to work on some other stuff, and we'll come back to this, and we'll block everything out in some 320, and we'll see what comes out and what doesn't. You know, these couple of dings and dents that are up here in the front, they're very minute, so they may come out in the primer. This one that's back here, he's a little questionable. So we may end up, I have a feeling what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up locking it all out. I'll probably fix a couple, I'll fix whatever is left after we block it out, and then we'll reprime it again. Unfortunately, it's just the name of the game. Sometimes, you know, sometimes they come out good, sometimes they need a little more work. And you know, we got the hood on there. And everything looks really good on it. I'm super happy with everything. Like, you know, the way that it fits across the cowl looks good. The way that it fits across the passenger side fender looks good. The way that it fits up against the grill looks good. So, and the way that this all ended up working out, this grill is actually forward probably a half an inch from where it sat factory, bringing this to a very nice tight fit going around here. There's normally an overhang under here, and I think it looks way better with this grill pushed forward. So that looks super good. But as you come over here to this side, we got a huge gap here. So we're gonna make a piece to go in there and close up that gap. So we had to do some math, and I'm gonna kind of explain to you how I came up with what I did. So on this side, on the passenger side, I measured this gap here, and it was 3/8 of an inch. So then I measured this side over here, and that side was 1 1/16 of a gap. So we had to take 1 1/16 of a gap and subtract 3/8 of an inch. And that gave me 11/16. Then there is a lip that's bent under here, which is it's a 1/2 inch plus an 1/8, so 4/8, 5/8, so it was 5/8 of an inch of a ledge underneath here. You know, this ledge that runs underneath here was 5/8 of an inch. But if you remember, we pulled this whole fender out. So I don't know if you guys can see down inside there, but because we pulled that fender out, as it goes down, as that hood goes down that fender is now kicked out more. So there's actually an area in there where the hood is not touching, but it is darn close. I mean, if you move that hood over just a little bit when you're shutting it, it's gonna hit the fender. So instead of doing 5/8, we're gonna make it a 1/2 inch. So we're gonna take a half. We're gonna take that from 5/8 to a 1/2 inch. So we're gonna take an 1/8 inch off of it, giving us a little more clearance going down that fender. So I took the 11/16 and I added a 1/2 inch to it, and I bent up just a little test piece here, and you can see, you know, we got our 3/8 of an inch gap there, we got our 1/2 inch there, and now we are going to make a piece that is 26.5 inches long. That brings us down to like right in here somewhere. So because this looks nice and straight through here, and then right in here it starts to go up. Now if you go back and you look at some of our earlier videos where I actually had this hood on the truck, you'll see in the videos it was red fenders and a red hood. And if you look at the gap on the driver's side of the hood, it has a good sized gap on it. It's a pretty big gap. And if you've watched all of these build videos, I don't know which video that it's in. I may have showed it, but I know that I've talked about it, where the hood was actually sitting on top of the passenger side fender, and it had rubbed through all the paint and like an 1/8 inch of Bondo, and it wasn't down to bare metal yet, it was still into the Bondo. This truck had a lot of Bondo on it. So when we did everything, we needed to lift the hood up on that side so that it wasn't touching that fender anymore. And as you can see, I just showed you guys, you know, we have a 3/8 of an inch now, you know, all the way across. So it's not touching this fender anymore. But everything that we have done to this truck, which was putting a new core support in there, we put new body mounts in there, on the whole cab and front end. We extended both fenders forward probably about a 1/2 inch, and this fender here, we actually cut, I don't remember exactly what it was. It was a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, and we pulled this whole inside of this fender in and welded it back up to bring this out, because this was so far in you could stick your hands underneath there. So what I'm thinking is that, you know, when you have a piece that's like this and you pull it out, it's actually bringing this, as it comes out, it's bringing it down, because you're not, you know, if you take a piece of metal, or just even your fingers like this, and you start to curve it like this, your tips of your fingers are going down. So as we pulled that fender out, it started doing this, and that's what opened that gap up so much. Like I said, if you go back and you look at the earlier videos when it had the red fenders and the red hood on it, it had a big gap over here, and it was touching on that side. So we lifted the whole hood up to make that gap open up on that side. And then we redid all the body mounts and everything, which changed the way the whole front end sat on here. And then pulling this fender out like we did, almost spit on you guys, did you see that? So as we pulled this fender out, we opened that gap more. So now we're gonna go in and we're gonna make a filler piece, and we're gonna bring that gap back down to match the other side. If I lower the hinge down on this side, then the hood here is going to be way down compared to that side. If I move that side down, we're going to be touching the fender again. So I don't see any other way other than to extend this hood. The only other thing that we could do would be to lift up this fender. But to lift up this fender, either you're going to have to cut it here and add a piece, and then this is going to be sticking up way higher than this, and it's not going to match side to side. Or you cut it down here all the way across, and you lift the fender up to where you need it, and then you add a filler piece in here. Or we add the filler piece in the hood. I think that the hood is the better of the options that we have. Technically, there's only two options. It's cut the fender down there, slide the fender up, add a piece down here, or add it on the hood. And I think that the hood is just a way easier of a piece. You know, we cut this and extended this out so that it met with the firewall better. Because if you remember, the factory ones were ripped on both sides on two different sets of fenders. Actually three, because we have a white Jeep out there too, that they are also ripped down that fender. So we extended that out so that it was a nice tighter gap and it won't rip ever again. So if we were to bring this fender up, what it's going to do is it's going to bring that corner down here, it's going to bring it that way, and it's going to bring this way. So we're going to end up with the gap on the top again, and we're going to end up hitting down here. So we would have to remake this whole piece again to bring that fender up where it needs to go. So I think there's way more work in moving the fender up than it is in extending the hood down a little bit. And when it's all done, nobody's ever going to know that I did that. You guys will, because you guys watch my video. But other than that, you know, we'll be good. I think, you know, we extend that down, and then we'll have to move these holes down so that the emblem is in the same spot on both sides. So, you know, this hood right here being 11/16, that's what we're adding to it, 11/16. So 11/16, I mean, I don't know, 11/16, it's a good amount, but for you to do it to make a gap match from one side to the other, I don't think that's horrible. You know, I mean, if we were adding 2 inches to it, then we got a problem. But 11/16, I don't think you're really going to see it from side to side when you're looking at it. So, but anyways, let's get to marking a piece out and getting it cut and bent. So I brought this metal over here, And we are going to take, we're going to take this metal, we're going to cut. We got this guy marked out. Got our 1/2 inch marked. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut it from this corner to this corner. So from this outer corner to this inner corner. Okay, I'm just going to tack this in place just as a test fit. So, like, yay far of this much of this actually needs to be folded all the way under, and the same thing with this. Like, this much of this needs to be folded under. So, you know, what I'm saying is, like, so we need to cut, like, a little bit of this off, or a little bit of this end off, and then fold this end over, and then we need to make a cut in here and smash this end over. So it does need to, there's a little bit more work that we have to do, plus we have to cut that whole bottom lip off. All I want to do is I want to test fit this and see if it looks okay. Okay, so let me make sure you guys are looking at this. The wife has been telling me that I'm pointing at stuff down here telling you guys what I'm doing, but you can't see it in the camera. So it's either you see me or you see what I'm working on. So I think right here we need to shrink this a little bit, just to kind of give it a curve up and close up this gap. It's in the fender and it's in the hood. So like there's a curve up in the fender and there's a curve up in the hood. So, and it looks like it's on the other side as well. So, all right. So, like I said, we got a little bit more work to do to actually make this fit in there. But that closed up our gap. Don't mind that end. We got some work to do. But that closed up our gap. Alright, well, I'm gonna have the missus come out and take a look at it, see what she says. Colleen came out and took a look at it. She was eating dinner when I went in there, so while the camera was off, I actually came out here and I folded all the edges over. I put the little shrink in it to bring that edge up. So, and then tacked it back in place. So it looks really good. I'm super happy with it. Tuesday, I think we'll come out here and we'll straighten out that hood latch and we'll cut it off since they have it welded in place. And we'll pull the other one off the other Jeep and put that one in here and get the hood latch adjusted properly so that it shuts and closes nicely. You know, right now it shuts and closes, but you can't just shut it and push it. You actually have to slam it. So I don't like that. Like, you should be able to just push it and latch it. So we'll get that adjusted and worked out on Tuesday. I want to get that done before we weld this in, just in case something changes. I would hate to get all this welded in and then we change out that latch and all of a sudden it, you know, it's closing differently and that gap's too tight or too wide or whatnot. So, but, so we'll work on that and, yeah, we'll go from there. We get everything all working properly, then we'll weld this up solid, and maybe we'll move those holes down where they need to be now, and weld those old holes up. It's really windy outside, but it's a nice day. It's in the mid 60s out there, and I think tomorrow is supposed to be like a 30-degree drop. So we're gonna go out there and we're gonna get that hood latch assembly pulled off of that other Jeep right now while it's nice out. So I got some tools together. Let's go out there and get this done. For one, I think I need to soak that. It's getting stuck right at the bottom edge of the threads there. But looking at it, it is welded in place like I thought, or like this one is. I mean, not like I thought. I thought that this one being welded in place, I thought somebody did it, because when I was sandblasting it, like, the welds don't look good. They look horrible. So I thought that somebody did that, but apparently not. So I don't know. So this, when I looked at that Jeep out there that we were working on, so this nut, you've seen that I was up on the top and I loosened this nut and took it off. On this hood, that nut's not up there. The nut is actually inside the spring. We had to, me and Colleen were out here working on it, and I had to like pull down the spring with all my might so that she could get the wrench in there and crack this bolt loose so that we could get the whole thing to unscrew. And I thought, like, once we cracked everything loose that it would be adjustable in there, and then that's when I noticed that it was welded, and we went and looked at the other one and I seen this nut on the top, and I was like, yeah, see this one, you know, you crack the two nuts and then it's adjustable in there. But apparently not. I'm gonna go spray that with some PB Blaster and let that soak a little bit. And then I'm gonna have to kind of rethink what we're doing here. So the hood latch itself, is adjustable. Down on the base, on the top of the firewall, is adjustable. You can go front and back with it. And technically that's what we need to do. What I was trying to avoid doing was that, so for me to move that lower base, I'm gonna have to remake that aluminum piece that we made for the top, because it is made to fit where that hood latch currently is, which is not in the right spot. So yeah, so that sucks. You know, I think I might have to pull that aluminum piece off, and we're gonna have to adjust the hood latch to where the hood closes properly, and then we're gonna have to remake that aluminum piece to fit it like that. You know, with that aluminum piece on there, I mean, I could make adjustment in that aluminum piece so that you can adjust the hood latch with that aluminum piece on there. But that's the way that I made it. The reason I made it the way that it did was so that it looked clean. If we slot all the holes, you're gonna see all those slotted parts in that aluminum, and it's not what I wanted to do. So I'll show you guys like what's going on here. Maybe we can make it work, because maybe that top piece can slide back with it. So like, you know, this square we have cut out perfectly. You know, these holes are cut out perfectly. You know, it's like everything needs to move way forward, which we have some room here to move forward. You know, I left enough gap so that we can move everything forward, but then this square is going to be off. You know, maybe we can figure something out. Just make that square bigger, so that it doesn't look like it's off. We'll have to see. I'm gonna brainstorm here, and I'll get back with you guys. Alright, so the hood is shut. It opens. And I like this. I mean, you can just lightly push it down and it shuts and latches. So what I did was I loosened these 4 bolts, and I moved this whole thing forward this way, or back, I guess you want to say back. So, you know, our square is a little off here, but you can see where it's all rusty right here. Like, that's where that catch, so there's a catch that's supposed to be up here that was missing off this hood. I gotta take it off the other hood and put it on this one. But that's where that catch was hitting. So with it being moved back, I'm okay with that, because then the catch won't be hitting on this aluminum. You know, I'm okay with everything. This cap is our only issue. So we're gonna have to round that out more, or remake this piece, one or the other. But I'm super happy with the way that the hood's shutting now. So if I gotta remake that piece, you know, we gotta remake that piece. Helen came out here and looked at it, and she said to, you know, trim out that aluminum piece and try and make it look as nice as possible, and then make the decision of what you wanted to do. Put the hood pole back in for now. We still got to sandblast it and paint it. and it's got to get installed after the inside of the hood gets painted. But put it in for now so they can hold the hood up so that we can work on this, because I would like to get this installed before we take the hood back off. So, because then that way I can shut it, close it, make sure everything's good. So let's, I'm gonna cut these couple of tacks off. We're gonna take that piece back off. And then I marked where we have it sitting, and we're gonna cut the hood where it needs to be cut, and we'll get this piece welded in. Alright, well, we got it cut out. There's still just a slight lip inside the hood, you know, from the old piece like this that we cut out. I don't want to grind it completely flat, because I'm thinking that it's holding the strength in this piece of hood. So I'm thinking, you know, after we get this welded in and take the hood back off, we can go back on the inside and then grind everything down. We got, you know, grind down the welds that protrude and grind down that lip that's left over. So, but I'm gonna throw this in the blast cabinet real quick and just hit it with the blaster. There's some surface rust. From, you know, it's sitting over on the other side of the shop, leaned up against the wall, and from handling it the last couple days. So let's just clean it up before we put it in, and it'll save us a headache later. Alright, well, that's it. It's welded in, it's ground down. I'm happy with it. It looks good. Could be a little bit better. I think if I went in and did one more round of welding, not that there's any pinholes or anything like that. It's just I wasn't able to grind it completely flat and flush to where you can't tell that I welded. If if I went back and I re-welded it again and ground everything down, I think I could make it look like it was one piece. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's you know, it's on a piece that's going to be getting coated regardless. So I'm not going to worry about making it 100% perfect. I think it's good enough. It'll get a coat of Marglass and a coat of filler over the top of it, and it'll look good. So we still gotta do the inside. There's that brace that goes on the inside right there, that we actually, putting that piece in, we cut out a piece of the brace, and now not only did we cut out a piece that we got to put back in, but now it's like this short from actually reaching the bottom of the hood. So we gotta go in, we gotta clean that up a little bit, make a filler piece to go in there, and get that welded in and ground down. We still gotta grind down the inside of the weld that we just did, and we gotta get that body work back out and ready for primer again. Alright, we're back out here. As you can see, I got the hood back off. Tony came out here and helped me pull the hood, so we can work on the inside and get that finished. I told you I'd think about it. Let's just get the hood done. I said that earlier, I swear I did. So I have this taped off. We're going to trim off this extra here because we made this thinner because it was hitting on the side here. You can see where it was rubbing. So, you know, we took this whole thing and we moved it in, you know, a half an inch or whatever. So it closed up our gap. So when we made this piece, we made it thinner, which gave us more room. So now we got to trim this off so it's even. And I have it taped off on this side as well. And we're going to trim this side so that both sides match when you open the hood. So that's what we're going to do at the moment. And then we'll jump on the inside here. You know, we got some grinding to do in there. You know, our pretty primed hood is no longer pretty, so we gotta grind all that up and clean that up. And then over there, where the brace is, we gotta run the brace up and connect it from the factory. It's spot welded here, so we got to run it up under that lip and spot weld it to that lip, so it's all connected back to the way that it was factory, and it looks, you know, as close to factory as possible. You know, I don't know how many people will actually notice that it's a ½ inch longer on one side than the other, but I think that that's the only place that you'll actually be able to notice it is inside when you open the hood. That you can actually tell that it's a little longer on one side than the other, but alright, so that looks a lot better. We still gotta weld this up here. Figured it'd be easier to weld when it was upside down. Oi! And then we got this side trimmed up. Okay, so what you guys missed was I ended up remaking this piece. Somehow my measurement was way off. You know, we held it up here, and I marked it with the marker, and I cut it off. And then we continued working on it, and when I held it up here, it was too short by like 1/4 of an inch. So I don't know how that happened, but it happened, and so I ended up making a new one, and then we notched out the back side so that it matches. So it matches the other side. It gets notched out so that it can go around this bend that we have here. So this guy's ready to go in now. We need to put a couple holes in here for a spot weld, and then I'm going to put a hole in this guy for a spot weld, and then we can go ahead and weld this guy in. So got my little hole puncher here. Can't do that there. There we're gonna have to drill a hole. Okay, so we got that brace all welded in and ground down, and now you just see me tack a little piece in there. And what that is it's that lip that folds over. On this vehicle, it's for strength. Most vehicles, when that lip is folded over and it's pinching the inside panel to the outside panel. This one, there is no inside panel on it, so it's just strictly for strength. But it, because this was right, and then when we added this piece to it, it left a little void right there. So I'm just welding in that little triangle to fill in that void. And we'll get that ground up and cleaned up real quick once I get it welded in. And then I think next is the holes. Okay, so I was gonna weld up those holes, but what I'm gonna do is I think we're gonna mark the new holes and maybe drill those as long as they don't interfere with what we gotta weld up. Okay, so we got the new holes drilled out. I drilled them with a little bit, and then we'll weld up these holes, and then we'll come in and we'll drill those out bigger after we get it all ground down and whatnot. Just if I go the size that they need to be, we're gonna start running into the other holes. So we're gonna weld these up first. You know, it only dropped down like, or the hole only moved like, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, so it's not much. Weld that guy up right there. Forgot about him. I thought we were ready to put the hood back on. Okay, so we got it sanded down, we got it cleaned up. Mixing up some Marglass. We're gonna apply this on tonight and call it a night here. So we'll sand her down tomorrow and hopefully get the hood back on tomorrow. And then we'll start on the doors. Alright, I didn't want to coat the outside because I still wanted pictures of this thing in bare metal, but I didn't want to waste what I had mixed up. So what we'll have to do for pictures is dust a little primer there so that kind of blends in with the sheet metal. The last car that I did here, which is some of our older videos. Actually, I think still the startup of our video where the engine's revving and it has the half dozen customs on the screen. That car right there. There are pictures in our earlier videos. There's pictures at the beginning of that thing sitting out front in bare metal. And there, it had like skirts that were fiberglass. It had the whole front, like headlight and grill section was fiberglass. Tail light stuff was fiberglass. So I put all that stuff in primer before we took pictures of it in bare metal, so that the gray primer went along with the bare metal. And you know, you don't even pay any attention to that those things are in primer. You just pay attention to the car being in bare metal. So I think a little primer over here on this side of the hood, I think will be okay. So I've been working on this over here. We put the Marglass on last night. I sanded that down. I put a coat of filler on. We sanded that down. And it felt really good, but I felt a little bit of a wobble from the transition of the filler to bare metal to the primer. So I just pulled a nice tight coat on this. And we're gonna hand sand this. I've been using the air file on it. So now it's got a nice thin coat. We're just gonna go in and hand sand it once it's dry. I'm just kind of checking in with you guys, letting you guys know how it's going. I think what I'm gonna do, probably not gonna film a lot of this because it's just gonna be a ton of sanding. I'll just do some check-in stuff. But I think we're gonna sand down this whole inside of this hood. Try and take care of all the rust pitting, get it all sanded down and ready to prime again. And then we'll get this reprimed. You guys have kind of already seen me go through that process once. I'll check in, I'll show you guys how it's going. But I'm probably not gonna film the whole process of this. You guys have already watched me work the inside of this hood. So we'll just do check-ins from here on out. And when we get ready to jump to the next thing, which is probably going to be sandblasting the doors, which I'm not going to bring you guys in the room with me while I'm sandblasting. We'll do check-ins with that, but you know, like I said, I think we're going to get this all sanded down and reprimed. I don't think that that's going to happen tonight, but we're going to work on getting it all sanded down. While I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm starting to sand on this. So yeah, we'll be back and we'll check in with you guys. Well, we've got this hood all sanded down, and it's ready for its final coat of primer. I need to run around it with the red scuff pad just to, you know, make sure that all the nooks and crannies are scuffed and the spot welds are scuffed and whatnot. But it's all in 180. Everything came out. I still got to sand that spot. I just hit that. That was it. There was a dent that was pushing up, and it wasn't bad. Like once I sanded it out, I think that the next round of primer would have taken care of anything that was left from it. But I figured while we're here, I hammered it down a little bit. I put a dolly underneath, we hammered it a little bit, and I coated it. I'll sand that in the morning. We'll hit it with the scuff pad, and then we'll prime it again. All the rusting pits and everything that like we sandblasted out, like you can see all the pits that go through here. It was really thick and heavy through here. That's why, you know, we kind of broke through because there were some really deep ones there, but it all came out. All of it, everything came out. I'm super happy. When we very first primed this, like I wasn't really happy with it, and I knew that we were gonna have to sand it down and prime it again. And just after sanding this down, like I'm happy with it again. One more round of primer, and I'm not gonna do, you know, a thick mix and put 5 coats back on. What we'll probably do is It'll get a couple extra coats right there just to make sure. It'll get a couple extra coats right there, but the rest of it, you know, we'll probably just put 2 coats on, and it'll be a nice smooth mix that lays out nice and flat, that we can just come in and you know, probably 220 that area, and maybe 220 that area, and then go to 400 wet sand and wet sand everything out in 400. That'll be like when we're ready for paint, but I think we're good. I'm happy with it now. I'm much happier now than I was, you know, last week when we got this primed. So yeah, okay. We got this hood primed up again. I put 2 coats on the areas that we just body worked, and then I put 2 coats on the whole hood. So it looks good. I'm much happier with it now. I think we still are gonna have to seam seal this back edge. I mean, it looks a lot better than it did, but you can see all the war wounds in there from, you know, the years of neglect and whatnot. Now I could have went in there and body worked that, but I mean, you've seen how thin and tight that seam is. I think seam sealer is just the easier route to go, the time saver there. The rest of it looks really good. This front edge looks like it needs some more work. Like, you can see a dent right there, right at the tip of the hood. Now remember, this whole front edge of this hood was all folded up. So, you know, I think it's looking really good. But, you know, if I gotta come back and just work this little area, and we can tape off this front section right here and reprime this, you know, I'm okay with that. As far as the rest of the hood goes, you know, I think it's done. I think we're good to go. It's ready for paint. I just think we need to do a little bit more work on that front edge of under the hood. You know, if this was just a normal car, like, I'd let that fly. But this, you know, it's not a normal car, and it's going to be at car shows with the hood open. So I would like for that front section, I mean, that's up front and center right there. So I want that to look good right there. So I think we will come back and we will do a little bit more work on that front, just that front little nose section right there. But as far as that goes, I think the rest of it looks good. This side over here is where we just did our work. So that, you know, that looks good. You know, it looks just the same as this side. You know, we extended this hood by, you know, right around a half an inch. I think it was 11/16. It's a little more than a half an inch. And we, you know, we moved those holes for the emblem. So, you know, unless you watch this video, you'll never know that I did that. So I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. We're gonna call it a night, and we will be back tomorrow. I'm definitely gonna take a break from this hood for sure. We have been working on this hood for, you know, the last 2 weeks. So, you know, from the start of sandblasting to metal work to body work to primer, back to metal work, back to body work, and back to primer again. You know, it's been a lot of work on this hood. So I think we will return to this hood to rework out this nose piece. And I think tomorrow we will pull off, well, we'll have to see how tomorrow goes. Thanksgiving is in a few days, and I know that we have to go do. We've already done most of our Thanksgiving shopping, but we gotta go get the vegetable stuff, the stuff that can't sit 2 weeks in a refrigerator. So we gotta go, get that kind of stuff, and I'm gonna get some more kerosene for the heater, just in case we happen to run out like right around Thanksgiving and I can't go get some. So we got a lot of running around to do, is what I'm trying to say. So tomorrow is kind of our get everything done for the next week, and we'll have to see how it goes. But the next plan is we're gonna pull one of these doors off and get it sandblasted, and then we're gonna sandblast everything just like we did. Just like we did with the hood. So I've already stripped the outside, but you can see that there's stuff on the outside that needs to be sandblasted. So we're gonna go around, we're gonna sandblast all the outside. We got some rust pitting up here and whatnot. And then we're going to sandblast the inside. Now we got some heavy pitting down there. I don't think that's going to cause any issues. It should clean up, no problem. But what we have in here is we have multiple coats of, you can see yellow, you can see red, you can see green. So we need to get all that off and clean it up. We got to clean up inside these rain channels and everything. So, and then you can see this weld in here. Like, now I'm not worried about that weld inside there, but we have work out here, and there is work here that needs to be body worked out. And then we also, we put lower door skins on here. Now, not all of that needs to be worked out. I forget what door it is, but one of the doors, I was getting tired of hammering. My arm was getting sore, my wrist was getting sore, and I slipped and I hit the door twice with the hammer when I was putting the skin on. So we need to fix those two spots, and then anywhere that anything was welded, we need to take care of. And then we can prime the door, the inside. We're going to prime all this inside stuff. So the body work's not going to be too bad. It's not going to be like the hood. We got a handful of small spots to take care of. The main thing is going to be sandblasting it and getting it all cleaned inside and out. And then we'll get the inside of the door primed, and then we'll jump over to the other one, and it's the same story. With the other one, it's just a handful of spots that we got to body work out, and then we can get them primed. And then after that, we're probably going to come back in here, and we are going to clean up these door jambs. There is a little bit of body work that needs to happen down here. We replaced these striker things, so there is a little bit of body work that needs to be done inside there. If you remember, on that side over there along the floor, I told you that it had it wasn't a straight line, it had a wobble in it, and I don't want that wobble in there. Even though we have bed liner coming in on the floor and we have paint coming in on the rocker, and we can tape a straight line there, that would look fine. Just me personally, stuff like that drives me nuts. Even though we can give the illusion of being straight with our tape line of the bed liner in there, we need to rework that little line in there a little bit, and then we're going to get the door jambs primed. And then after that, I think that we will be moving to the firewall. Firewall's already all body worked out. We just got to clean it up. because it's been sitting for a little while. Make sure that there's no hot spots or anything on it, and then we can get that primed. And then we need to, start working on the rest of the vehicle, of getting, like, I want to get the fenders cleaned up next after that, the grill cleaned up next after that, get everything body worked out and primed on those, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, so that's, that's the direction we're headed. I mean, I just gave you weeks of work there, but that's the direction that we're headed with this. I do need to make an order here, hopefully soon, and get a couple more gallons of primer here, and get another case of some lightweight filler. We're running low over here. I still have some here, so we can keep working, but we're running low. I'm gonna need more before this job's done. So hopefully soon we can get that ordered and be able to keep moving forward on stuff. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. I know that there wasn't a lot of work in this past video. It was just kind of check-ins. I don't know if this will be like, if it's just going to be a video of check-ins, or if this will be thrown in the mix with just the whole hood in general. But anyways, I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.